Thanks, David. Good afternoon. We just left a team meeting and a team luncheon where Coach Hoke had the first opportunity to address his team. And the energy level was high. It was a terrific experience to be a part of that. There were also a few reunions going on, a lot of former relationships and acquaintances being renewed, and it was a terrific experience, I think, for our team as well as for all of us who were involved. 1 week ago, I was in this room and I indicated that it was my plan to conduct a national search for the next football coach at the University of Michigan. I traveled to 5 cities in 6 days. Like I need to tell you that. I interviewed several coaches face-to-face and several more via telephone. It was exhausting, but it was very productive and I believe very important. I met coaches from several different conferences, several different regions of the country, and with several different personalities, coaching philosophies, and levels of interest in the Michigan job. I learned as part of this process, it's the first time I've been through it, that all that glitters is not gold when it comes to some coaches. A 2 or 3 hour meeting with a coach uncovers much more than you can learn scanning the internet or just sifting through statistics. Sometimes the hype or the PR doesn't match the real person, and this is why you have to meet and interview candidates to make the right decision. I accomplished my goal in the last week of testing the market and putting myself in a position to be able to select the very best leader for Michigan football to ensure an exciting and successful future for our players, our students, and our fans. Brady Hoke is a guy that if I met him when he was a coach here, I don't remember, and I don't think he does either. We just didn't have an opportunity to have any kind of a relationship. And the first time I met him that I recall was this last summer at a charitable event he flew into town for, and we shook hands and spent about 12 seconds in conversation. So, contrary to maybe some folks' belief, I had no relationship and didn't really know Brady Hoke really well until the several hours that we spent together as part of this search process. I didn't know him before, but I knew a lot about him afterwards. I believe I have done exactly what I set out to do in the selection of Brady Hoke as Michigan's head football coach. There were a number of criteria that I established, actually 12 of them, that in every interview process the individual was rated, and I did that with every coach I interviewed. But the 2 that I want to highlight particularly for you that will tell you a lot about Brady Hoke are, number 1, his love for this football program and his intense desire to compete for this job. And secondly, his reputation as a coach who can take a program over, recruit great players, and wins because his players want to play for him. He is clearly a player's coach. Unlike some other coaches, it's not about him. It's about his players and it's about his team. Brady understands Michigan and what football means here. He has lived it as a coach, and he knows what it takes to be successful. He doesn't have to learn the words to the victors. He sang it many times in the locker room. He doesn't need a map to get around Ann Arbor. He was a member of our community for 8 years. And he told me that he participated in something like 25 summer football camps in a row here on this campus at the University of Michigan. As the search process progressed, I became more and more interested in Brady as a primary candidate and started connecting with people Brady had worked for, coaches who had coached with him, players who had played for him, and very important, I talked to coaches who have coached against him. The feedback I received was consistent and clear. This is a special guy who can do great things for Michigan football. He's also a guy who knows how to coach defense, has done a lot of it, and it's his love and his passion. Brady was a defensive line coach, as many of you know here, for the 8 years that he was a part of the staff. I called Brady yesterday morning, West Coast time, after I chased him down and asked him to be our coach. He immediately accepted, and I'm thrilled he's with us here today to start his first day of work. Now, before I bring Brady up here, I want to introduce two very special people who flew all night long to be here and be a part of this first day for Brady at Michigan. Two very important members of his family who are here today. His lovely wife, Laura. Laura, please stand. Where are you? Welcome, Laura. And Brady and Laura's daughter, Kelly. Kelly, stand up and let everybody see who you are. We welcome both of you back to Ann Arbor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased and proud to introduce the head football coach of the University of Michigan, Brady Hoke.
Like Dave said, we had quite the night flying cross country, and I can promise you we would have walked to the University of Michigan. I got some people I want to thank, obviously, as part of what you do as a coach and the things that have happened in your career. And number one, I want to thank Dave and President Coleman for having that confidence and having the vision for the University of Michigan and the leadership that they both have shown. And it's something that I think everyone in this community, everyone who's been part of this great tradition and the legacies, I think they all understand what Michigan football is and what it always will be. I want to thank my wife, my daughter, our families who are here for their support over the many years. We're very fortunate to have people who care about us, care about what we do, and help develop us and what life's about. And that's one of the great things that this great game of football does, is teach young men life skills. I want to thank Coach Rodriguez and his staff for the 3 years and their families. Coaching profession is a tough job, and it's a tough profession. But Coach Rodriguez and his staff gave 3 years of their lives and their commitment to Michigan football, and that's not to be forgot. I want to thank the people who have been influences in my life when you look at the coaching profession. And it starts with a guy named Dave Tanner at Yorktown High School outside of Muncie, Indiana. And Bob Giese at Grand Valley State, Jack Harbaugh at Western Michigan, Dan Summerall at the University of Toledo, Dave Craigthorpe, and Jerry Pettibone at Oregon State, Coach Gary Moeller, and Coach Carr. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the luckiest thing I had going for me is Coach Schembeckler for 8 years telling me that we weren't tough enough in the defensive line and wanted to know why Steele wouldn't play lower. So, but I can tell you this, we've had a love for Michigan for a number of years. And growing up in the state of Ohio, I had a lot of respect for Coach Hayes and loved Coach Hayes. But I was not a fan of that university in Ohio because my buddies were. So I had to be different. And I can tell you the one thing about it is I became a Michigan fan and fanatical about the University of Michigan. And so to be here today is something that, believe me, we hold close to our hearts, and the opportunity that we have as a family and as a Michigan family, I can promise you, we want to make sure that we live up to the traditions, the legacies, in high regard. We understand what Michigan football means and what Michigan football is. We will always be about the team at Michigan. This is never going to be about Brady Hoke. This is about a football program. This is about a team and 42 Big Ten championships. And that's what this program is going to be about. And the things that we believe in the foundation is going to be our character. The character of the guys on the staff, the character of the kids in the program, and everybody who touches those kids on a daily basis. because character wins in life and character wins on the football field. The character teams are the ones who play together, the ones who stay together, the ones who are accountable to each other. And we're going to be a program that is going to be accountable. We're going to have a foundation of toughness, because I don't care what position you play, this is a tough man's game. Doesn't matter if you're the holder on the field goal. You have to be mentally tough. You have to be physically tough, because that's the way a game of football is played. And that will be part of the philosophy. We are going to be a team that competes with a high degree of effort every time we take the field. When we run out on the practice field, we're going to compete. And we're going to compete every day, because you get better when you compete. And that's what we're going to do as a football team. Accountability and respect. We're going to respect every guy in this program. We're going to respect every person on this campus. We're going to respect everybody in the community. And we're going to respect the tradition of the University of Michigan and its football program. So we're excited to be here, I can promise you. And one other thank you I should give to the thousands of players that we've been able to touch as a family. Go Blue.
At this point, in time, I want to open it up to questions from the media. If you do have a question, please raise your hand, and the people with the mics will bring them to you. And I would ask that you please identify yourself so that Brady knows who you are and where you're from. Thank you.
Coach Hoke, Rodney Wakeman from Saginaw.
Yeah.
Could you describe the reaction of your new players upon your meeting them, you being introduced to them?
Well, I think, I went through a transition when I played in college. I played at Ball State University in 1977. Coach Dave McClain was the head coach, and then he left for the University of Wisconsin. And I can tell you that has always stuck with me. I had 3 linebacker coaches in 4 years, so you understand when there is a transition process. But I thought the guys were enthusiastic. We kind of talked about what our path is, and a little bit, they've got to feel an accountability, and I assured them that we have accountability towards them, and we're going to coach for them. The other thing is we're going to coach for our seniors, because seniors have been through the struggles of if you're a fifth-year guy, you've got 4 two-a-day camps. You got spring football. You got the winter conditioning. And so we're always going to play and coach for our seniors in this program.
Coach Bob Winowski, Detroit News. There's no secret that there's been divisions here in the last 3 years. What can you do to stop that, to heal that, to bring it together? And have you already done steps to do that?
Well, Bob, to me, it's sad that this great university and this great program and the tradition has divisions. Because I can promise you, this is about the guys who play in this program and them becoming husbands and fathers and great community leaders when they graduate, and winning Big Ten championships. And, how dare us, divide what Michigan is. So, the one thing I can tell you is I'm going to be who we are as a staff and a philosophy, and we're going to work hard for the kids in this program, and we're going to work hard for the University of Michigan.
Hey, Brady. Dennis Fithian, 97.1.
Hi, Dennis.
Hi. You talked about the defense a little bit. You talked about what kind of offense you see eventually and immediately what kind of offense you think you can run.
Well, the one thing, and I'm not going to get a lot into staff today because of just the timing and everything, and I'd like to get through today to some degrees. But we have, you know, the one thing about the guys who will be on this staff and coach is we understand one thing. You know, we've got a special guy in Denard, and he is a guy that can do an awful lot for your football program, and I know he loves the University of Michigan. I got to spend about 15 minutes with him, and we're going to spend a little more time together. But, you know, I think that when you have talented players, it's your job as a coach to mold that into what's best for your football team, and most of the time when you do that, it's what's best for that player.
Coach, right over here. Tara Miller from Fox 17 in Grand Rapids. I'm guessing over the years you've had a lot of very good pieces of advice from some of the coaches that you even thanked earlier in your press conference. Is there one piece of advice that you've received over the last 24 hours from a former coach, a former player, current player, anybody that is really sticking with you at this moment?
Well, you know, I think the biggest thing, and I think I learned this after probably 6 months of being at the job at Ball State when we took that job, is be who you are. You have to be who you are. You have to believe in what you principles are and the things that are going to be the backbone of your program. So, you know, that's probably the biggest thing. And then Laura wanted to make sure my tie was straight. So I think we covered that pretty good. So,
Brady, it's Pat Caputo, Oakland Press.
oh, hey, Pat.
Oakland
I see you.
Press.
Yeah.
There you are.
Sorry, Pat.
97 won the ticket. You know, the Ohio State question. People have talked about that a lot. Embracing of rivalries. Michigan State. Michigan's lost to their main rivals, it seems, in the last few years. Could you talk a little bit about the rivalries and just
Sure.
what your thoughts are in the last couple
Well,
of years?
you want to win them, and you want to prepare to win them, and they've got to be front and center of what you want for your program. You know, and one thing in Michigan, see, we're fortunate, and I don't know if people realize that. We really have 3 guaranteed rivalries. When you play Notre Dame, I think that's a rivalry. And the guys in the back of the room who've worn that winged helmet, they can tell you that. When you play Michigan State, obviously your in-state rival, that's an important piece of what you want to be. Because the lifeblood of your recruiting has to be in the Midwest and has to be in the state of Michigan. And the other part of your lifeblood, and I don't need to say much about it, but, you know, that school in Ohio, and growing up in Ohio, I understand on both sides of it. And we take those very seriously.
Brady, Ryan Atulo with the Toledo Blade. Congratulations on the job.
Thanks, Ryan.
Was there a point during the process where you thought maybe this isn't going to happen for me? Did you stay patient? Walk me through that.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'll probably do that some, though. But, you know, not really. I mean, you know, we've been very fortunate, and there's always a plan and there's a direction, and we've been fortunate as a family. Believe me, I've got the best team in the world right here in those two, and it was whatever happened would happen. We left a pretty nice job. You know, when we got in last night, I told Dave, he didn't tell me about the snow, and so, but you know, and it's always hard leaving a program because of those kids. I mean, we were blessed with one beautiful daughter, and our players have always been our sons. Whether I was a defensive line coach and had 14 guys, that's how Laura and I looked at it. Now I have 115. You know, so I wasn't concerned.
John Borton, the Wolverine.
Hi, John.
How you doing, Brady?
Good.
Talk about the twin challenges of finishing off a recruiting class in 3 weeks,
Sure.
as well as securing the guys in the building right now.
Sure, and there's no doubt about it. We got a lot of work to do, John. In both situations that we've been in before, where we've taken programs that were down and turned them, it's the same thing. You know, we got to, obviously that meeting today was important. I plan to meet with all the seniors and as many of the other guys as I can tomorrow and on Friday, the whole team, so that they have an understanding of our expectations. I think I was pretty clear with that up there in the team meeting that we had. But there's no doubt. And then, believe me, I will be on the phone as soon as we get done with everything we're doing today, to the guys who have committed and the guys who have that love and affinity for Michigan. And you're never going to please everybody, and that is one thing I really don't care about. We're going to make decisions, and we're going to do things that are for the best for this program and these kids on this team.
Brady, Larry Lage from the Associated Press. Welcome back.
Thanks, Larry. Where are you, Larry?
Bald head, get over there. You obviously got choked up talking about the thousands of players you've touched. I wonder if you could reflect at all on what it means to you to have Tom Brady and Charles Woodson in particular make sure they knew Dave Brandon knew how they feel about you.
Well, obviously it makes you feel good, and not just those guys, but there's a group of guys, back there in the back who we were able to help be a big part of their life. They were obviously a big part of our lives, and we it's just you coach. I started coaching. I wasn't going to coach coming out of college. I was a criminal justice major, and was doing an internship with the Federal Probation and Parole Office out of the Southern District in Indiana. And I started coaching football, high school football, with a guy named Dave Tanner. And to help kids, because I know I've got great parents, and I knew right from wrong, but I got off to not probably the great way you wanted to in college. And if it wasn't for my coaches sitting me down and talking about things that, you got to make your family proud, that's why you coach, to help develop those guys. From a mental standpoint to the academic standpoint to how you play the game of football because of the lessons in this great game.
Coach, right in front of you here, Tom Lydon, Channel 7 here in Detroit. Welcome.
Yeah, Tom, thanks.
Stability is something that this school is looking for in this position, and you've obviously professed your love for this school and this job. Is this where you want to be forever?
Yes. No doubt. No doubt. I mean, this is, to me, has been, and for a long time, the ultimate place where I wanted to be as a football coach. I was fortunate enough when Coach Mueller hired me, and fortunate enough to be here for eight years. And believe me, it was 8 great years, and, this place means an awful lot to us because of what it stands for as a university.
Nicole Auerbach, Michigan Daily.
Hi.
What do you anticipate being the biggest challenge that you're going to face from now on?
Well, I don't know if I look at any of it as challenging. I look at it as this is what you do as a football coach. The connection with the players, the opportunity to do something you love with a group of guys that you build those relationships and you love doing. Is there work to do? Yeah. Do we have to finalize the staff? Do we have to make sure our winter conditioning's in order and where we're going with that? Get spring ball. We got to finish the recruiting end of it. There's all those parts of it, but that's fun. That's football, and it's fun to do it, and it's fun to be around those kids. And I know our staff is going to be a staff of high character that care about kids, and it's great working with people like that.
Josh Helmholt, the Wolverine magazine. Coach,
Hi, Josh.
3 weeks left until signing day. What specific challenges does that present, and what's a reasonable expectation for this 2011 class?
Well, you know what? I'm not one of those guys who goes out there and makes predictions on anything. I promise you, besides that, we're going to play with toughness and we're going to play with effort. I can tell you that. I hope I didn't turn off somebody's deal, but the whole thing is, we got to get out there and touch all those people. Recruiting is a people business, and it's trust, and it's the things that go along with it, and it's having something that's special that you want to present to families and young men, and we have that in the University of Michigan, and the tradition and the legacy of this program. So, believe me, we will be busting our hind ends to get guys that are going to represent this program and fit the character and the models of what we want in this program.
Coach over here in the back, Ryan Armani, Fox 2 and WDFN. To piggyback off of Larry's question a bit, and something the people at home watching can't see are the many people behind the cameras right now. And how humbling is it to you to see former players come from wherever they are to be here for you, a distinguished alumni come here from wherever they are to be here for you?
Well,
how humbling is that?
It's very humbling, and we feel very privileged, not to just be the head football coach at Michigan, but to have touched the lives of those guys who are back there and those guys who had the opportunity to come back out and wanted to be here. So it's extremely humbling, and if I talk about them too much, a guy like James Hall and Jansen and those guys, then I'll get a little bit emotional. Now, if Glenn does something wrong, then the emotion would go the other way.
Coach Jordan Strack from WTOL in Toledo, back here behind the camera.
Oh, thanks, Jordan.
People nationally have said that this isn't an elite job anymore. Why, in your mind, is this still an elite job?
Who says that? And I'm being serious.
People on ESPN have said it.
God bless them. They got a job to do, and they have an opinion that they might have. But this is an elite job, and will continue to be an elite job. This is Michigan, for God's sakes. I mean, it's what this is all about. So, people can say what they want to say. And people are going to have opinions. He shouldn't have hired him. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't, that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean a thing. The only thing that means is when we get together, those 115 kids, and we start our preparation, and we start the things that we have to do as a football staff, as a team, then we'll decide. But, it baffles me how people can make a comment like that, and I'll probably get bad press from it, but they're wrong. This is Michigan.
Brady, Tim Rowan, Michigan Daily.
Hi, Tim.
Just to piggyback off that, how much has Michigan changed since you left the school when you were defensive line coach?
Well, this is all new. This is all new. There's great kids in this program. Just having an opportunity for an hour and a half to visit and have lunch and kind of walk around, do those kind of things. There's great people at Michigan. There's great people, and the one thing that I want to make sure I'm crystal clear on, we all are going to work for those players and those student athletes and those young men. And I don't care if you're the manager who spots the ball, we're going to have a pride in who we are. And was it Todd? What's your name? Jordan. What Jordan said, about people thinking that Michigan is on a downward spiral or doesn't have that national acclaim. Shame on them. And shame on them if it's people who are Michigan people. Because everyone who's going to touch this program and deal with these kids are going to have a fanatical love for the University of Michigan, or they won't work in the football office. I can tell you that.
Hi, Brady. Warren Pierce from WJR.
Hi, Warren.
Welcome back to Ann Arbor.
Thank you.
Dave and others have characterized you as a player's coach. What does that mean in your mind?
I don't know. I really don't. You hear that sometimes and people think you're soft. And I think, Warren, if you go back there and ask those guys in the back of the room if I'm a soft guy, I think you may find an opinion on that. But I think this, when you realize, and this is something I think we realized, Laura and I did, when your whole sense is to help develop kids in academic, social, and a competitive athletic standpoint, and that's what you look at and that's what you lean on, then those players are going to understand that you really care. And I can promise you that's what we care the most about.
Let me just follow off the practice field when you began coaching, for example? In your
you know what? Here's what's changed is this, and the internet and all that kind of stuff. That's changed. Believe me, there's a couple guys back here that I can tell you I worried about on a nightly basis, who have been very successful in what they're doing in their walks of life. But no, it's part of it, you know. But that's where you got to educate in your leadership, and you have to communicate, and you have to be crystal clear on the communication, you know. And you know, we're not a very gray area program. I mean, our expectations for what we expect, and you know, we've won 42 Big Ten championships. Well, the goal every year, and I've told the players, the expectation is to win the Big Ten championship. And that's where it starts. And if we don't do that, we got to retool it, refix it, do whatever we have to do, because we're going to do that for Michigan.
Great. Bob Winowski again, Detroit News. You've referenced a couple of times that school in Ohio. I wonder how deep your passion for that rivalry runs, and how quickly do you think is fair for Michigan to be competitive with Ohio State again?
Well, you know, I think that rivalry is special. It's like none other in football. Being engaged in that battle for 8 years and growing up in the state. I mean, you knew, you know, Bo and Woody and great fights they had. And it is the most important game on that schedule. And not that the others aren't important, but it is the most important game on that schedule, and how we play the game and how we prepare. So, Bob, it's very important to me, and it's almost personal.
Over to the right here.
Rob White, iSportsWeb. Coach, you mentioned Denard. How familiar are you with the rest of the roster, and can you adapt to
That's a great question, you know, and I got to see a couple games this year. We played a lot of night games, and if you had a 12 o'clock start, you get the bits and pieces. You know, Mike Martin's the guy I tried to recruit the heck out of to go to Ball State when I'd come up here and work the Michigan camp, and dang near thought I had him, but it didn't work out that way. But I know some of those kids, you know, not that I know it real well, but believe me, I'll know more after 10 o'clock tonight than I do right now.
Brady, Woody Woodruff, Fox 2. Coaches are measured by what they do on the field and how they win. Talk about the pressure that you're under right now to get this turned around almost instantly.
It's a great question. I'll be really honest with you. There isn't pressure. And the room got a little silent there, didn't it? If you don't have that self-imposed drive and competitiveness and again, a mental toughness to prepare your guys in the right way, to do all the things that is encompassed in being a football coach, I mean, that should be where the pressure is, you know, in your drive to do that. You know, I know one thing, our kids are going to be prepared. I know that they're going to play, and they're going to be a tough group of guys, and they're going to be guys who play with an outstanding effort, you know, and they're going to be accountable to each other. And that is clearly the definition that you always need to have for a team. They got to be accountable. That means that you're going to class so you don't let your teammates down. That means that you're doing the right things in the community and on campus. Okay, and those are all measurable. But every time you do something that's out of character, or you have to enforce bad decisions, then it really tells you that this guy's being selfish. He's not being accountable to who he should be, and that's his teammate.
Brady, over here. Dan Cummins, WTOL TV in Toledo. Welcome back.
Thanks, Dan.
During the last 8 days, kind of a media frenzy, we were all digging around to get little nuggets of information, get names, what coaching candidates were. You were really under the radar for the last 8 days, I guess recruiting, but you were never seen, never heard from, no quotes. Give us a rundown in the last 8 days, when you heard from David Brandon, how many face-to-face meetings you had, and when eventually you got the phone call, and what did he say when he offered you the job?
You want me to take that one?
I'll take the first part, you take the last part.
He offered me the job yesterday morning, and immediately accepted the job. Like I said, we'd have walked here, San Diego. Now, getting up the Rockies would have been a little difficult, but we could have figured that out. But, you know, it was, we were working. We were working for San Diego State, and I can tell you that. And we were out recruiting and doing all those things. You know, I know that when Dave and I did have a discussion and sat down a week ago, we really had told ourselves and our pool of parents here, I'll tell you, they had no idea, you know. Number one, you don't want to look at the internet and the blogs and all that and listen to all the stuff, but it was just really for us, we had a great meeting.
Brady over here. Drew Sharp, Detroit Free Press.
Yeah, Drew.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
You've been talking a lot about how the objectives of this program are winning conference championships. But
yeah.
I have not heard the word national championship mentioned here
right.
at all tonight. Shouldn't that be the ultimate objective for a program,
nope.
which is to be a national elite program?
Nope. Because if you don't win your conference championship, you don't have a chance to go after the next one.
True, but in other conferences in this country, winning the conference, if you're not winning the national championship, a conference title is considered basically a consolation prize.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. I've got, I think, 5 Big Ten championship rings, a national championship ring, and I can tell you, they mean an awful lot to us, and I know those guys in the back, they mean an awful lot to. And I understand exactly what you're saying, Drew, but I can tell you, if you don't win your conference championships, there's no way in heck you're going to win the national championship. Okay.
So that's the ultimate goal, though, that you consider the ultimate goal.
I didn't say that. I told you our goal is to win the Big Ten championship. Multiply. Consecutively.
Multiply? Okay.
I made that word up.
Okay.
First. You'll get used to it.
I
do that. I do that once in a while. I'm good in Scrabble.
Jim Carty, New York Times.
Hey, Jim.
Hi, Brady. Dave talked a little bit about how you didn't know each other very much. Could you talk about maybe going into that meeting, what you wanted to learn about him and what you wanted to impress upon him?
You know, I think what I want to know about Dave, I did a little homework, myself, but I know that he has a vision for Michigan. I don't think you take a career that he was at the apex and the highest point and then decide to, come be an athletic director if he didn't have that love and that infinity and that vision for Michigan. And then, to be honest with you, I'm an old linebacker. I played linebacker, and I coached with a linebacker's mentality. And we're going to be aggressive in what we do and how we do things. And I was myself. And, kind of let Dave get to know me about the things that are important and being a head football coach.
Hi, Brady. Dave Dye with Fox Sports Detroit. I believe you used a lot of 3-3-5 defense at San Diego State. Is that something that can work in the Big Ten, or do you need
Sure
to change
it can.
that?
I think it's funny. It really is. You can talk about the 3-3-5. You can talk about a 4-3. You can talk about a 3-4. You can go back and play a 6-2. I mean, people need to be educated on what that defense is, because there's multiple ways to play that depending on the personnel that you want to have on the field. And, the one thing I can tell you, Rocky Long is really one of the creators of the defense. And, we played with 4 guys on the line of scrimmage, 3 guys on the line of scrimmage, 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. It just depends. It's flexibility that it gives you that is something that was good for us. When we went in there, I think San Diego State was 119th in the nation in defense. This year, playing with the same guys, to some degree, we're in the top 40.
We have time for 2 more questions. I'm going to go over here and then go back over to that side.
Brady, Angelique Shingelis, Detroit
Hi,
News.
Angelique. How are you?
Good, Brady.
Good.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
I had a couple questions. You said you haven't finalized your stuff. When do you anticipate doing that? And will you have on-campus recruiting visits this weekend? And also, is it impossible for you to say Ohio and State together?
No, I probably get a lot of people happy with me, but that's okay. Staffing-wise, as soon as we possibly can, tie up loose ends and go through that process a little bit. When you talk about, the recruiting part, is the lifeblood of your program. And this, obviously is a little different, very similar to our first year, San Diego State. I think we started January 9th was our first day. We are not having a weekend this weekend, but staffing hopefully will be done in the next 3 or 4 days.
Brady, Doug Maurice with the Cleveland Plain Dealer. You
Yeah,
mentioned that Ohio State-Michigan rivalry being personal for you. Is that because of your upbringing?
Sure.
And what really was it like being a Michigan fan when you were growing up in Ohio? Was it
Well, fortunately, I didn't get beat up much, and it's what it should be in respect to both universities, and that's the one thing that's great. I have great respect for Ohio. I mean, there's no question about it. But I can tell you, it's the last Thursday or the last Saturday in November, at 12 o'clock, that ball being kicked off, there was nothing like it. And so, when I say personal, I wouldn't take it like, I don't know. Hey, take it how you want. I really don't care. But it is. I mean, it's if you're a Michigan and you play for Michigan, you wear that maize and blue, that's got to be personal.
All right. At this time, we're going to take Brady out for a couple of minutes, and we're going to bring up Athletic Director Dave Brandon to answer some questions.
Thank you.
All right, if you have a question for Director Brandon, please make sure you get a mic. Coach Hoke will be back in a minute.
Dave, do you want to answer the first part of that question now? When did you start contacting Brady, and when did you meet with him?
Yeah, when you're in 5 cities in 6 days, you're going at it pretty aggressively. And he said it was a week ago. I think a week ago I was in this room right now. So, but we put a list together of people that I really wanted to talk to, and I felt the only way to make the process legitimate and effective was to not turn it into a circus when everybody wanted to turn it into a circus. And so I tried to be as clever as I could to create circumstances where I could interact with people and have serious, confidential conversations. Because in some cases, I was not going to meet with certain people if I couldn't maintain that confidentiality. A lot of these guys are coaching other teams at other places. And I wanted to talk to them. And then along the way, some people decided they wanted to talk to me. And I was open to that as well, in some cases. So I managed the process as best I could to protect the confidentiality of everybody involved. As I said in my opening remarks, I spent several hours with Brady. I wanted to talk to Brady. He was on the list from day one of somebody that I wanted to talk to. And I needed to get to know, because I knew him by reputation, but I didn't know him at all. There were a lot of people in that process I knew by reputation, but I wanted to get to know them the way I wanted to know them, and I did. And I'm not really interested in, as hard as you all tried, and as much as you all want to know who all I talked to and when I talked to them and what we talked about, it ain't going to happen. It just ain't going to happen. You can ask that same question 11 different ways, and it ain't going to happen. I'm going to fulfill my promise to those people, and we're not going to be blabbing about what we talked about or who we talked to and when we talked to them. Yeah.
Hey, Mike Stone, 97.1.
Hey, Mike.
You were quoted as saying that Brady Hoke was Plan A. If indeed he was Plan A, why wasn't this done earlier for recruiting and all that kind of stuff?
I don't know about Plan A, and I don't remember saying that. I don't know what the context was. I'm just here to tell you that I said a week ago I was going to do a national search. And believe me, you don't go to 5 cities in 6 days for entertainment. I'm sleep deprived. I'm exhausted. I wanted to move as fast as I could. There were some ridiculous schedules that were maintained to do this as quickly as I could, but to do it well. And I had people I wanted to see, and I had people I wanted to talk to. And I made the decision. I made the decision that I wanted Brady Hoke, and I called him at the first earliest opportunity, and made the offer. And he accepted it. And we never talked about what he was going to be paid. The only guy I've ever heard of that took a job without knowing what it paid was named Schembeckler. Now, we're paying him. We got to it eventually. But I want you to know, this is a guy who loves this place. What you see is what you get with Brady Hoke. He loves this place. He wants to be here. And I had a lot of things that I rated as being extremely important. But at the top of the list, I wanted a coach who wanted to be here, loved this place, and was willing to do everything he needed to do within the bounds of the rules to be successful.
Dave, Bob Winowski, Detroit News. You might have just answered my question, but I'm curious, in this whirlwind talking to Brady Hoke and getting to know him, what jumped out at you that you liked so much about him?
I'm a former player. It's been a long time ago, but I still remember. And I think one of the most important things in judging a coach is, do players want to play for him? And he kind of scoffed at my players coach comment, but I'm here to tell you, you want a team that's going to perform at a high level. It's a team that wants the coach to be successful because they know it isn't about the coach, they know it's about the team. And what impressed me about Brady is, first of all, I think he told me he wanted this job and it was his dream in life in the first 4 seconds that we were together. And the second thing is, I got more and more into how he coached, and he brought all of the materials he used. We had a long discussion about how he approaches his job. It became very apparent to me that this was not a guy who it's all about me. It's a guy who it's all about the team. And he's a guy that players want to play for. And our current football players have only spent a grand total of a couple hours around this guy. But you have no idea how many of them have come up to me and made comments about their immediate reaction to the attitude that this guy brings to coaching football. And I think that's exactly what we need here at Michigan.
Dave, Mike Rothstein,
Yep.
AnnArbor.com. Just a couple process questions. How many people do you think you talked with?
Several.
At what point I know you said you got in touch with Brady as soon as you made the decision, but at what point did you realize
Like where within the several was Brady and when?
That's not what I'm asking.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm asking, at what point did you realize Brady was definitely going to be the guy you wanted?
At what point did I realize
that
he was
going to be the guy you wanted?
I called him yesterday morning really early and kind of forgot that there was a 3-hour time difference and spent the better part of an hour and a half trying to find Brady. We played Where's Brady, Laura, yesterday morning. And that's when I officially extended the offer to Brady Hoke. And unofficially, don't read anything into that. It's when I asked Brady Hoke to be the coach at Michigan. Yeah.
Ryan Karcher, Michigan Daily. I know you talked about when you had your first press conference about hiring a coach who could kind of fit to his offense to personnel. Did you guys have any discussion specifically about that? I know he ran the pro style. Did you talk specifically about maybe fitting Denard into that, or did you guys not talk about specific players?
We talked about that a lot. You know, part of what we talked about was scheme and philosophy, and how have you taken in your previous jobs various personnel and use that personnel in a way to be successful. Because I believe that's what coaches do. If coaches come in and say, I only know how to do it this way, doesn't matter who's here, doesn't matter, I think that's a hard way to lead a football team. I think you have to adapt. And I had a great discussion with Brady in terms of how he utilizes talent and how he can leverage talent to be successful. So I came away very, very comfortable. And hey, you can't have a conversation about Michigan football without talking about Denard Robinson. Special. So I think every meeting that we had included discussion. But we had discussion about a lot of other great players on that team, including other quarterbacks. So we talked about a lot of people, including Denard.
Dave, Dennis Fithian here. Did you have complete autonomy in this hiring process?
I had total autonomy. Every once in a while I would check in with my boss and she'd say, David, where are you? They're tracking some airplane with a block M on it.
Did your boss have any, because there's a theory that that one candidate in particular that she didn't want hired. Could you speak to that? Was there any I don't want this guy to be the next coach?
That theory, I've heard that rumbling out there, and it is complete baloney. Complete and unadulterated baloney. Capital letters, underscored. See me after class, and I'll give you another word for that.
Dave, the specifics of the contract, how many years, how much money are we talking about?
It's a 6-year contract. We put it all together yesterday morning in a very rough term sheet format. The best thing, because I'll get something wrong, and I don't want to do that, the best thing is obviously that'll be a matter of public record when it's in a form that it can be made available to you, and you can pour through it all you want. A definitive contract has not been signed because it takes a little longer than a few hours. But Coach Hoke is not worried about that, and neither am I.
Hi, Dave. Dave Dye with Fox Sports Detroit. You mentioned you had talks about other quarterbacks in the program. Can you confirm Tate Forcier's status? He's still with the program?
No, Tate is not with the program. It's difficult for me to confirm, and I really don't. I hate acting like I'm dodging questions. I'm not. It's just that there are certain limitations in terms of what I can talk about relative to any student's academic status at the university. So I just refer you back to what was said at the time that Tate was removed from the team down in Jacksonville, and I'd rather leave that up to somebody else because I don't want to be in a position where I'm speaking where I shouldn't be speaking relative to someone's academic status.
Scott Johnson, TV5 from Flint, Saginaw. Congratulations on the hire.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you had about a dozen things on your checklist that you were looking for in your new Michigan man. You mentioned a couple of them. Can you share the rest of them with us, or some of the other things that you were kind of judging?
No, you will have to buy that from me.
When's the book come out?
I will probably come out with some kind of a coaching selection seminar, and you'll have to pay to attend.
Well, can you give us at least another one?
No.
We have time for about 2 or 3 more questions right in the middle here.
David, were there, whether it be successful hires at Michigan like Coach Schembechler or other successful hires in the Big Ten or around the country, any kind of template that you looked at to say this type of coach, this resume, this fit for a university that you considered in trying to evaluate your candidates?
Yeah, I actually went back and there was a lot of data pulled together. Someone really was a good friend and supporter from another institution who had worked with the Big Ten office and did all the correlations as to what constituted success and failure in like the last 25 years of coaches being hired. And it was really interesting stuff. I like data, and I like making decisions based on objective data. And it was really interesting. And in some cases, I mean, people don't think this way because they're out there following who's the darling, in the media. But one of the greatest correlations is someone who has no connection to the region, conference, or area that they've been dropped into. If you think about it, they have no relationships with high school coaches, they have no recruiting routes, they have no awareness of the conference and the competition of the conference. And that was one of the major dislocations in a great number of misfires as it relates to coaching decisions. So, there were people, believe me, I got plenty of help with this search via the email. And, you know, there are people who would suggest somebody that has never spent a day of their life east of the Mississippi, you know, who literally, and truthfully, when you start digging in and find out how easy or hard would it be for that person to just parachute in and turn this program around, I mean, it just wasn't going to work. So it's a long answer, but the question is a good one, and I want you to know I looked at a lot of different factors and tried to learn from other people's mistakes so that hopefully I wouldn't make the same ones.
Dave, how did this compare to big decisions you've made in your corporate life, and how glad are you that it's over?
Well, listen, I've done 2 initial public offerings that were at the time the largest of their kind on the New York Stock Exchange. I've done billion-dollar transactions. I've hired a lot of really high-level people, and so I'm not unfamiliar with doing national searches. I'm not unfamiliar with interviewing people who are high-profile and at the top of their game. None of that was particularly unusual. I just never had anybody follow me around while I did it. And in some cases work with great earnest to undermine the process. Because the reality is, if I'm out there putting on some kind of a sideshow, I'm not going to be able to talk to the people I want to talk to. There are going to be people who are going to be afraid of it. They're going to shy away from it. And so I'm running around in camouflage gear trying to set up opportunities for meet the people that I wanted to meet with to make sure I got to the right decision. And that made it tougher. The level of difficulty was made tougher, but I'm proud of what we did. I'm proud of the way we did it, and most importantly, I'm really proud of the result.
I'm going to give the last question to John Borton here.
Dave, John Borton with the Wolverine. Now that the process is over, can you talk about the sort of the pulling together, getting behind process, and maybe even healing process of everyone involved and around and interested in Michigan football?
The first thing I'm going to do now that this process is over is I'm going to get more than 3 hours sleep tonight. And then I'm going to wake up tomorrow, and we're going to go to work for Michigan. And those people out there who love this place and care about this place and understand this place, they're going to love this football coach, and they're going to love the way this team plays. And those people out there who like to tear apart and like to criticize and like to, you know, find fault and, you know, and all that stuff, I mean, they're out there. And let them be out there. But they're not going to detract me or this coach or our team from getting on the path that we all want to be on. That man's walking around with a diamond national championship ring on his finger and several Big Ten championship rings from Michigan in his jewelry case. And those players know it. Those players commented on it, and they know it. And that's what those players want. In this game, a lot of people lose track of this. This game is about the players. Yeah, we need fans. We want fans. Yeah, you're all important. We need the coverage that you bring and the visibility you bring. But this is about football players. This is about changing young men's lives. This is about bringing leadership in here who makes a difference in the lives of young men. And they leave here with a championship ring, and they leave here with a great education, and they go out and do great things in life. That's Michigan. Michigan men do that. They create other Michigan men. And the guy you've just met is all about that. He's all about that. And he didn't spend as much time with a PR machine as others may. And he may not be, you know, he may not be dressed up and polished and the Toastmaster General like other people. And I don't care. I want a football coach. I want a football coach who's going to do with these young men what we want them to do. Teach them what they need to learn and win. That's Michigan. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.